Welcome to Psalms Layer by Layer, a project of Cambridge Digital Bible Research. I'm Elizabeth. This video is our overview of Psalm 1. The purpose of this overview, or at a glance, is to capture the inner logic of the psalm. It's the starting place for understanding a psalm. We have titled Psalm 1, Delight in the Lord's Instruction. The psalm is painting pictures of delight in order to persuade its hearers to think carefully about in what they delight. The psalm begins, "Happy is the one." Sometimes in translation, there isn't an easy one-to-one match of words. That's the case here with the Hebrew word translated happy. It isn't talking so much about an emotional state, but about someone who is considered fortunate or favored, and who is to be congratulated and admired. Right from the start, we need some background information. Psalm 1 is the beginning of the book of Psalms. In the Hebrew Bible, the book of Psalms comes right after the book of Malachi. And one of the main themes in Malachi is this very question, who really is happy? Many people are saying, serving God is futile. We call the arrogant happy. Evildoers prosper. This belief was a serious challenge to the question of whether God and his instruction were worth their attention. This psalm is going to challenge the assumption that the wicked are the happy ones, the fortunate ones. This psalm will offer a different answer to who is really happy. Happy one is the one who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked people. See, the person in green walking in the direction the person in gray is pointing out, with a red X through it to show the person is not doing that. The happy one does not stand on the way of sinful people, meaning take part in their conduct. See the person in green following in the path of the person in gray, again with a red X. The happy one does not settle in the dwelling place of insolent people, meaning imitating their lifestyle. See the person in green settled with the people in gray, once more with a red X. In short, the happy one is the one who rejects all the advice and ideas and behavior of the wicked. And what is so important about rejecting the advice or guidance of the wicked? First, note that the verse has three actions: walk or go, stand, and settle. Those actions paint the picture of a journey. Let's see why. There's an extended metaphor in this verse, which is that character development is a journey. The idea is that just as a journey's destination is determined by the original guidance or directions given, so too people's character development is determined by the guidance they follow. Progression on a journey corresponds to increasing commitment. In this psalm, the journey of the wicked ends with insolent people, those who look down on or despise others. Following the guidance of the wicked results in being someone who despises his neighbor. By contrast to following the guidance of the wicked, the happy person chooses different guidance. His delight is in the instruction of the Lord. He even rehearses it day and night. This indicates he's devoted to the instruction of the Lord. This phrase, day and night, leads us to some more background information. Joshua and the kings foretold in Deuteronomy are instructed to rehearse or meditate on the Lord's instruction, or law or Torah, day and night. This devotion is specifically associated with Israel's leaders. The result of all this time with the Lord's instruction is pictured now with the imagery of a plant. The happy one becomes like a tree, and not just any tree, but one which gives its fruit in season, whose leaf does not wither, and which succeeds in everything. This is a pretty wonderful description of a tree, all thanks to being transplanted by streams of water. The water enables it to handle whatever difficulties life brings. The water makes all the difference. Just as the wicked guidance made all the difference in the journey of character development, so here, the water makes all the difference in the life of the tree. Continual water leads to the tree's success. Continual attention to the Lord's instruction will bring the same success to the person as the water brought to the tree. In the Old Testament, when trees are used to refer to a person, they often symbolize kings. The poetry of Psalm 1 both hints at an individual, a king, that this happy person refers to, as well as invites all of the audience to devote themselves to the Lord's instruction and experience the same success. This completes the first section, which tells us about the happy one. He rejects the wicked's guidance, he devotes himself to God's guidance, and he prospers. This was the expectation long ago set out for the king and modeled by Joshua, and now offered to anyone who was to be considered happy or fortunate. We now move on to the next section. Not so the wicked people. This not so means they are not to be considered happy, and therefore are not like the tree. Rather, they are like chaff that the wind drives away. To understand this verse, we need to know some things about winnowing and chaff, which have to do with harvesting crops. Chaff is the outer husk of the grain kernel. The two grow together on the plant. Then harvest time comes and the plant is harvested. Then comes threshing, when the chaff is loosened from the grain kernel. Winnowing is actually separating the chaff from the grain. This is often done with the aid of the wind. The chaff is lightweight and gets blown away, leaving the desirable grain behind. Here in verse 4, the wicked are compared to chaff that gets blown away. This suggests that the righteous can be compared to the desirable grain that remains. What's in focus in this verse is that chaff does not survive the winnowing process. Verse 5 continues this idea of the wicked being separated from the righteous with another metaphor. Therefore, wicked people will not stand firm in the judgment trial, and sinful people will not stand in the congregation of righteous people. When the wicked encounter the judgment, they will no longer be able to congregate with the righteous. Just as the grain and chaff grew alongside each other until the day when they were separated, so too the righteous and the wicked grow alongside each other until the day when they are separated. Remember how in Malachi, many people were thinking that the wicked seemed to prosper and were even called happy? Verses 4 and 5 of this psalm indicate that they do prosper for a while alongside the righteous, just like the chaff prospers alongside the grain. But there's a limit to their prospering, because judgment will come, and the wicked will not stand firm. They will not be acquitted. They will be expelled from the righteous. And that is why they are not to be called happy. It's not because they never prosper. It's because the day is coming when they will no longer stand, when they, like the chaff, are blown away as worthless. Looking again at the first two sections of the psalm, verses 1 to 3 address the prosperity of the person devoted to the Lord's instruction. It is long-term prosperity and will continue forever. Verses 4 and 5 address the prosperity of the one who rejects the Lord's instruction, the wicked. It is short-term prosperity, and in the end will be considered worthless and driven away. Verse 6 closes the psalm. For the Lord cares for the way of righteous people, and the way of wicked people will come to an end. One might say, but the way of wicked people will come to an end. The Lord is taking care of his own, ensuring that they will prosper and endure. He doesn't act in the same way toward the wicked. They come to an end. Remember the two equations from earlier? The one who rejects the way of the wicked and devotes himself to the Lord's instruction, who prospers like a flourishing tree? But when the wicked, who reject the Lord's instruction, encounter the judgment, they will no longer be able to congregate with the righteous and will be like chaff blown away by the wind. What makes this so? It's the Lord. He's the authority ensuring that this is the way the world works. This begins to answer the problem we addressed in the very beginning. The wicked seem to flourish, and people even call them happy. But what people see is not the full story. The full story is that the Lord is at work, and He's the one who directs each path to its final destination. Even if the wicked seem to flourish, the faithful will call the righteous happy, because it is the righteous whose final destination of prosperity is secure. This is because the Lord is watching over the righteous. We've now covered Psalm 1, section by section. First, the psalm declares who is truly happy, those who will find their way to enduring prosperity. Then, the psalm warns against the unhappy, those who will come to an end. And crucially, the Lord is the authority who guarantees it. So, who's happy? That is, worth admiring? The person devoted to the Lord's instruction, not those who reject the Lord's instruction. And how can we be certain? The Lord Himself guarantees it. There's no arguing with this authority. And there's the purpose of this psalm, to persuade the audience that contrary to what anyone else may say, the key to success is devotion to the Lord's instruction. The psalm begins by talking about the happy one, the one worth admiring. This has hints of a royal figure who devotes himself to the Lord, as did Joshua. But in the final verse, the psalmist is no longer talking about one happy person, but about plural, righteous people. The psalm is also an invitation for anyone to devote himself to the Lord's instruction and find that same success. Now that we've looked at each section, we'll read the psalm in its entirety. Happy is the one who does not go in the counsel of wicked people, and does not come to a standstill in the pathway of sinful people, and does not settle in the dwelling place of insolent people. But his delight is in the instruction of the Lord, and he rehearses his instruction day and night. And he will become like a tree transplanted beside streams of water, which gives its fruit in season, whose leaf does not wither, and he makes successful all that he does. Not so the wicked people. Rather, they will be like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, wicked people will not stand firm in the trial, and sinful people will not stand in the congregation of righteous people. Because the Lord cares for the way of righteous people, and the way of wicked people will come to an end. In short, what's the secret to success? Who should be declared happy? Those devoted to the Lord's instruction, and not those who reject it. Because the Lord Himself stands behind it, directing each path to its destination. This completes our overview, the Psalm at a glance for Psalm 1. Visit our website at www.cdbr.org for more information or to contact us. Thank you for watching.